Welcome everybody, Lee Sanders here from the RCWR show. So this is an impromptu thing that I'm doing. I did not plan on doing this, but I was just so caught up in the season finale episode of Dark Side of the Ring, covering the life and the tragic passing of Owen Hart. And it just was so surreal going down memory lane. Once again, I can remember just everything that was going on that date, that year when Owen Hart had passed and everything. I was actually watching this with the family and just, it's all I have to say. I'm just a big old ball of mixed emotions right now. But I wanted to come on here. I definitely wanted to offer my thoughts on the episode that we got tonight. And this is something I'm not looking to be long-winded. I'm not looking to be talking about this for 45 minutes or anything like that. I want to be as in and out as possible because I got a lot of audio that I'm editing right now. First off, especially to those of you that have been watching, not just last season of Dark Side of the Ring, but if you've been watching this second season of Dark Side of the Ring, can we just say off the break, kudos, and can we just give a good strong round of applause to everybody behind the scenes at Dark Side of the Ring for a very strong season that they gave us. This was a really, really strong season. I enjoyed season 1, but I tell you, they went into this season pretty hard, pretty fast. They opened up pretty damn strong, and they're ending pretty damn strong. So I just first got to give up the props to the production team, to Evan Husney, Jason Eisner, and everybody else works behind the scenes on Dark Side of the Ring. Phenomenal job. The other thing that I want to just take a sidebar and I want to just give mad kudos to is Martha Hart. I really want to give her the mad respect that I feel she deserves, and I really hope that my colleagues, veteran podcasters, shock jocks that happen to talk about wrestling, I really hope they join with me in those sentiments, because Martha, she has been one not really over the years willing to give that many interviews and really talk about everything that's been going on with that whole Owen Hart tragedy. She has really, what would seem over the years as her just turning a blind eye on Owen Hart, his legacy and everything, and fans are left to feel the way that they have felt over the years, feeling as though she's alienating Owen's legacy and everything. On the contrary, nothing of that nature at all from what we learned about her in this episode. Now, if I had one little gripe, my gripe was that this episode was way too short. Way too short. We could do a two-parter to open up this season on the Benoit tragedy, and yet we crammed everything with regards to Owen in 45 minutes, and I just feel that's a huge injustice on so many levels. And for me, it really, really felt that they should have gone on ahead and done a two-part. And they would have been right to do a two-part. And the reason why I want to do a two-part, those of you that are not familiar with the life of Owen Hart, you damn sure by now know about the tragedy, but it's really afterwards, just the ongoing litigation that went on for years and years and years between Martha, Vince McMahon, and the WWE. And then even after everything gets settled, she wins the settlement, she gets her money and everything, they just continued to go to court because WWE was trying to figure out ways to use Owen's likeliness, his character and everything, at which Martha did not authorize. And so that was all sticky as well. And there's just a lot. There was a lot that they just glanced over. Another thing that stands out to me from this episode is okay, well, with regards to the rigging company that was ultimately responsible in the death of Owen, what became of those people? Did they have an opportunity to, even try to be interviewed by the Dark Side of the Ring crew? Or did they decline? What's going on with that? What happened to that company in general because of what went down with Owen? Did nobody in the entertainment business want to touch them, and as a result of that, that company eventually went belly up? There's a lot of questions, and again, I'm approaching all of these questions in real time. We're just a couple of minutes removed from when this season finale had aired. So, those are the questions that I wish could have been tackled in a two-parter, but sadly they did not cover all of those bases, and I really wish they would have. Who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line. I know something that Viceland and Dark Side crew has been doing is director cut episodes, and they've been showing those, if not on their YouTube channel, on the Vice website or Dark Side of the Ring website. Maybe that's something that they are able to do, hopefully, for this particular episode. If not, it's a travesty. But despite the fact that, especially if you know about the whole Owen situation, the tragedy, and you followed the whole litigation stuff that was going on over the years, then you know exactly what I'm talking about as far as, yeah, definitely shortchanged. But putting that to the side, I would still say it was a rather well-produced episode that they put out there. And, one of my biggest takeaways from this episode, one is the fact that Martha, even to this very day, still loves Mrs. Owen tremendously. It brings me to another point, too, with regards to all of those little areas I brought up just a few minutes ago. Did she, or maybe she feels it was nobody's business, but did she go on to remarry? Did she go on to have relationships with other people past Owen? You're kind of led to the impression, no, I guess, really none of our business. But if you kind of were thinking that, there's nothing wrong thinking that, because, okay, you're opening yourself up. Your life is pretty much an open book. You're putting it all out here right now. It's therapeutic and everything. Okay, fine. But, you can still tell throughout this episode that she still loves Owen deeply, still cares about him a lot. And you got to give her a lot of props for trying to do her very best in protecting his name and his legacy. And I can only imagine all the heartache, tribulations that she had to go through over the years as a single parent. Because remember, when Owen passed, his son was 7 and daughter is 3 going on 4. And so, once he's out of the picture, fucking Martha had to, raise these kids by herself and everything. So anybody that even knows what it's like being a kid and you have a single parent that's trying to be mommy and daddy, it can be pretty rough. It can be pretty rough, depending on the situation. But most times it can be pretty rough for a single parent with child or children. So for Martha to do everything that she was able to do over the years and for her kids, and it was great hearing that the kids came out on top. I love hearing the fact that the son, Owen Hart, I love hearing that, he's a practicing lawyer, basically, or he's getting ready to be a lawyer. That's awesome. The daughter, journalism, she's trying to be a journalist and everything. I'm like, wow, these kids came out fucking great. I'm sure somewhere, if there is a heaven and everything, I'm sure somewhere Owen is just, all right, my kids are doing me proud. I love what they're doing here. So those were some of my takeaways, because I was very curious what's going on with the kids. That was something else that Martha was a little bit protective of over the years, was the kids and everything, which the kids, by the way, they did participate on this episode. The kids, I don't even want to speculate as far as how old they are, but I could tell that they come off like they're in their early 20s. That was kind of the vibe that I got. If they're younger than that, yeah, I don't want to speculate, but they kind of came off to me as if they were in their young 20s, early 20s. But, those are some of my takeaways. Another takeaway that I had was just the rigging company, and really, something that, as a fan, and I'm sure many of you veteran fans that followed the Owen tragedy very closely, something that was a little bit, okay, so yeah, we understand harness issues and everything, and he fell to his death. And I gotta tell you, to get the details on this episode, I mean, if you did not watch this episode yet and you have it on your DVR and everything, or maybe you're going to catch the encore live later on tonight or the next couple of nights, be prepared, because your stomach is going to turn. I tweeted, I said, man, just hearing about the whole rigging system, and I was left very nauseous. I was left very sick to my stomach, because let's set this up properly. So, per Martha Hart, from everything that she was able to gather with her intel and everything, basically the rigging company that was in charge of having Owen be in that whole harness and everything, and he's coming like Sting, when Sting was being dropped from the rafters and everything. So when they were doing it, basically 10 years prior, if I remember the story right, WWE was using a top rigging company. And then once things just, okay, well, we're done with that character. We're done with that blue character for now. Let's go ahead and just, forget the mask and all that. Let's just, and then, when they came back to it 10 years later, okay, let's do this again. Well, they basically changed companies. One thing that you really need to home in on, the company that was in charge of Owen's harness equipment and all that for that Kansas event, Over the Limit, in 1999, that was a totally different, that was that was cheap. That was cheap on so many fucking levels. I had put a tweet out about this, and Mike summed it up beautifully, basically saying WWF used a top-notch rigging company earlier on in Owen's career. They used the same company that controlled Sting's descent. These guys, according to Martha, they also used to do stuff for the Rolling Stones. So, I mean, they were very, very reputable. And the people that were in charge of all of this, top-notch, fucking A++++. Well, going into that Kansas City event at that pay-per-view, Owen was not dealing with the A team. He basically was dealing with an F- team. Okay? That's what the fuck he was dealing with, because they did not put all of their fucking ducks in a row when it came to this, man. And when it's all said and done, WWE, they essentially went with a cheaper option. And you guys pretty much know what the end result of that was. And I commend the hell out of Martha, because, there is this part of her that, okay, she's being a grieving widow. She's trying to do what she can for the kids and everything, but at the same time, she wants resolution. She wants retribution. Not so much revenge, but, I mean, you could kind of say revenge, but, more so resolution. She's trying to find out what the hell happened. How did this happen to the love of my life? Why did this happen? Because he wasn't suicidal in any type of way. What the hell? And so Martha, this I did not know. I did not know Martha had actually went back to that arena, had the kids with her, and they actually were high above. They went to the spot where freaking Owen was, and they basically, okay, so this is pretty much the very last thing that he saw as he was plummeting to his death. And the other thing that I did not know, Jim Cornette and a couple other people, it was mainly Jim Cornette. One of the things, apparently, Owen Hart's last words as he was getting ready to hit the freaking canvas, was basically, look out, get out the way. Here's this guy, I don't know. I think most people would be screaming for help or whatever, or to each its own. But here's this guy, get out the way, knowing exactly what's getting ready to happen. And that tells you a lot about his character, the fact that he can say, oh my God, okay, I know my life is getting ready to end as I know it, but man, I don't want anybody else to, get caught up by my impact, clear. And let me tell you something. I was a teenager back then when the tragic passing of Owen Hart had happened. But let me tell you something. We're talking 99. Let me tell you something. Even though I was a kid, back then, I remember feeling sick to my stomach about what all happened with Owen. But I felt even more sicker to my stomach seeing WWE continue on with this pay-per-view, hearing that they were continuing on with this pay-per-view. I felt that, and I'm glad Martha really cleared the air on that. Apparently, what really should have happened was once Owen plummeted to his death, police should have done the right thing and they should have closed down that fucking arena, clear everybody out of there, because what you now had officially was a crime scene. The hell with WWE's money and all that other shit. No, you ain't getting your way out of this one. Shut the son of a bitch down. Let the investigation go. Let them do what they need to do. And had they been able to do that, they really would have been able to obtain even more information surrounding how this tragic event happened. One thing that was, what the fuck though? And Martha realized this as she was going through all the evidence. She actually had his costume, like everything. She looked at the freaking harness part that was supposed to, hold him up in all of his weight and everything. And basically, to sum this up, because I don't want to lose people on this, but basically, the part that was used, really, this rigging company had no business using this part to, we'll use this and it'll pretty much hold up his entire weight. Bullshit. They had no business using that part whatsoever. And I believe, and I'll have to rely on you guys that saw the episode, I believe she said that, the maximum weight, it was, like 6 pounds or some shit like that it could hold, or something of that nature. But just the way that it was able to just, unhook and everything. With that particular part, Owen did not stand a chance. And part of the whole reason why Martha was really tripping about that during this episode is because, and this is where they really should have shut down that arena so police could do a really good, thorough investigation and everything, take all the pictures, videos, get what they need. And that's the fact that between that part that was found, on Owen, okay, so is this what he had during the rehearsals, or did he have the real fucking piece? What's going on here? And so it's one of those, the world will never know. And for me, that was just wow on so many levels. I'm speechless on so many levels. Just what the fuck? That whole little bit was new to me. I always knew the story about Owen and everything, right down to the point. Jim Ross, if you didn't pick up his new book, Under the Black Hat, I highly recommend you pick it up when you get a chance. He actually dedicates a portion of his book, a chapter in his book, to that tragedy. And he went into a lot more detail than what you saw on the episode tonight of Dark Side of the Ring. And I know some people are probably wondering, hey, Jerry Lawler is still under that Legends deal with the WWE. So, for all intents and purposes, that should really explain. For those of you that were kind of wondering where's Jerry Lawler, now you kind of know why he wasn't on that episode and everything. But they really should have shut that fucking arena down. And I remember being a kid back then, and when me and my friends were gathering around, we actually, were calling each other, did you hear about Owen? And I remember there was tears. We were all sad and shit. And we were all sick to our stomach that WWE had decided they were gonna, or Vince McMahon, the show must go on. Like, fuck your show. A life was just lost. And this other part I never really knew. And it really just made me even sick to my stomach even more. The fact that when they showed the actual photos of the ring, basically, okay, here's Owen's perspective. This is what all he's seeing as he's on his way down and everything. Okay, so not only is there still blood on the fucking mat that belongs to Owen, because the way he fell, he basically fell like over the top rope, essentially, and his body did hit the canvas and everything, but. All right, so on top of the blood that's in the canvas, we also still have a nice dent from when his body crashed into the canvas. And yeah, never mind that. It's still good. We're going to go ahead and next two people that need to go wrestle, No. As a kid, I was sick to my stomach then. So were my friends, and just going down revisionist history on this episode. I gotta tell you, I don't know how it was for you guys, but for me, I was fighting back tears. I was angry. I was nauseous. I was just sick, and I never felt so disgusted in my life. And then to just see that footage of when the lawyer for Martha's team was laying heavy into Vince McMahon, asking the questions and everything. And Vince McMahon, I don't like your tone. It's like, man, fuck you. Like, really, dude? A motherfucker lost their life. And, to hear that this guy actually tried to countersue Martha and all that, it just, on so many levels. My one big takeaway from this episode that I do really want to elaborate on, and this kind of follows up to what I was talking about on the podcast Monday night. I told you guys that I was going to go down revisionist history, and I was going to play back the audio from a couple of years ago I had did concerning Martha Hart, because I remember Brett and Martha, they were going back and forth about Owen going into the Hall of Fame, Brett really wanting it to go down and everything. And I remember there was one quote from an interview that Brett had gave. He said, hey, look, all due respect, you might have been, he might have been your husband, but he was my brother first. And so, he really wanted for Owen to go in. Martha, on the other hand, and I remember I thought maybe it was almost 10 years ago, but it turns out the audio that I had did from that show, it was actually from 2018. And I'm not going to play that audio, but the main bullet points from that audio that I said on that show from a couple of years ago was basically, hey, Martha, if she's really concerned, because I'm sure you heard the same stories as well, she doesn't want WWE to make a profit in any type of way off of Owen's likeliness, his character, and all of that. And I had, summarizing here, I gave some really cool ideas as far as, okay, well, if that's Martha's only concern, really, okay, well, this is how you can do it. I'll put a link so you guys can go back and listen to it. It's only about 10, 11 minutes long. But after seeing this episode and learning even more information and everything about what all went down, I really hope that everybody gets a chance to watch this episode if they have not watched it already. You all that have friends, family members that for years have been saying Owen needs to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. Fucking Mark Henry from a couple of years ago, bawling his eyes out, talking about Owen should be here. He deserves to be here. He needs to be here with us. He needs to come home. All this other shit. Do me and everybody else a favor and show them this episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Let them see the facial expressions from Martha Hart. Let them feel in her own words with great conviction and passion why Owen Hart should not. My personal opinion, I know a lot of my colleagues will agree with me, why he should never go into the WWE Hall of Fame. And anybody that was even remotely thinking, well, maybe after she passes, maybe the kids will come to their senses. I've seen that talk a lot over the years. Maybe the kids will go on ahead and they'll posthumously induct their father in the WWE Hall of Fame. Oh, my pretty babies, if you didn't watch this episode, you got another thing coming. That ain't happening. The son already said, and the daughter, they already said, it ain't happening. You can forget about it. It ain't happening. Martha summed it up perfectly. You know, why should my, deceased husband, why should he be inducted in a Hall of Fame by the same employer that was ultimately responsible for taking his life due to poor negligence? I ask you, I know we got a lot of people, fandom, but okay, just pretend you lost a loved one in those same kind of circumstances. How could you stomach it up to, well, you just took my significant other, but it's all good. No. And I put that tweet out tonight. Like, as soon as that episode had ended, I was like, a tweet that I had put out there, and it's been catching a lot of fire. My exact quote, I said, I hope veteran fans will finally stop the talk of Owen Hart going into WWE Hall of Fame now that this episode of Dark Side of the Ring aired. If you never understood, now you do after hearing Martha in her own words. He'll go in any other Hall of Fame except WWE because they killed him. Hashtag truth. You can't dispute that, and not for nothing, but if I remember it right, the Cauliflower Alley Club or the Pro, there was some Hall of Fame that Owen was inducted in a couple of years ago. I remember talking about it and covering it on the show and everything. So it's not like, Martha hasn't loosened up a bit, over the years and trying to recognize and appreciate the fact that Owen still has his fans and everything. And I tell you what, now that I've learned even more about the Owen Hart Foundation that she started up, largely in part using the settlement money and everything from WWE, and that's basically helping out single parents, and that's a beautiful thing that she's doing. I'm sure if Owen could somehow speak to her, hey hun, what you're doing there, that's a great thing, loving it, keep it going and everything. But I tell you, sometimes it's weird being in the position of doing the shows and then hearing what fans have been saying over the years about the whole, Owen Hart going to the Hall of Fame. If you ask me straight up, I was always neutral. My whole thing was, fuck WWE. My whole thing was, what would make Martha comfortable? What would make her, okay, this will put her mind at ease. And when you listen to the clip that I did from a couple of years ago, there was a lot of good points, a lot of good ideas I had brought up that, well, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. But when you watch this episode, all of those points, all of those ideas I brought up is invalid. Because ultimately, the one thing that you cannot ignore is what I said a couple of minutes ago, which is what she said. Why should her deceased husband go into a Hall of Fame of the same employer that ultimately was responsible for killing him? That totally, on what universe, on what planet does that make any fucking sense? It doesn't. So, we as fans, I know some of us, we want to see. It ain't happening. And for those of us that were, I never thought this way, but I saw people, well, once Martha's dead, surely the kids will, on the same episode, them kids, no. The son flat, it ain't happening. Both of them kids, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. The daughter hates WWE. She particularly hates them for taking her father away and robbing her. They both were robbed. So that ain't happening. So, we as fans need to take that little energy, that whole yearly debate about, and I can tell you, for as long as I've been podcasting, I've been podcasting since 2011, Jesus Christ, every year I get that one fan. I love you guys, but I get that one fan. You think Owen's going into the Hall of Fame this year? Or you think Owen Hart's going to go into the WWE Hall of Fame next year? That all needs to die down now. Now, while I still got you all, if you were like me, you watched the episode tonight and you thoroughly had enjoyed it, and you're like, man, what she's doing with the Owen Hart Foundation, that's pretty cool. If you want to try to represent in your own way, let me tell you something, and this is really cool what Martha Hart had did. For the first time in over 20 years, an official Owen Hart t-shirt has been released. There's two versions of it. You got one where it's a picture, it's a nice illustrated drawing of him. He's got his fist thrown up in the air. He's got the trademark black, purple, the straps. He's got that on, and it reads Owen Hart. And then little logos at the bottom. I think bottom left, right up under his chest, you see the logo for the Owen Hart Foundation, Dark Side of the Ring, and I want to say maybe the Pro Wrestling Tees logo. I'm not really sure, but you got that version, and then there's another Owen Hart t-shirt where it's just really cool font stuff. It's at prowrestlingtees.com. Let me tell you something before you guys frown upon it and all that other shit. When you buy that shirt, 100% of all profits goes right into the Owen Hart Foundation. So, you're kind of keeping the legacy going, and at the same time, those that are out there, that single parents, that money it's going to go somewhere towards that single parent. So, it's for a really good cause, helping out with scholarships and all of that. You're paying it forward. So if you're in a position, of course, take care of yourself, take care of your family first. But if you're in a position where, okay, I got a little bit of extra money, you want to try to represent, you could do something like that. If you ain't got the money right now, things are a little bit tight, but you got social media, just hop on Twitter or whatever. You'll see what I'm talking about. At least share it all throughout social media so more people know about it. I actually did order my shirt. I ordered it earlier today. And, given the whole COVID thing, it could take a little bit of a delay. They did say that on the site, but typically 7 to 10 business days, because they usually make those shirts from scratch and everything. I do want to just take this time out. I spent all this time giving you my thoughts. I do want to quickly just read some of the comments that I see that's coming in right now. And anybody else that's going to be tuning in, particularly on demand, and you're going to be watching this review, you saw the episode, let me know what you thought about it. Keep the interactions going and everything. I like what Nate had to say. Nate said, I agree with everything you have said so far. I never looked at this situation like this before. She said it was designed for the mass on sailboats, and 6 pounds of pressure releases the lock. Yeah, exactly. Going back to that stupid ass freaking harness part that was used on Owen on the night in question that took his life. Yeah, just stupid. Just fucking stupid. Shutterbug fan. Yeah, when I saw that clip, I went WTF. Shutter went on to say, actually, on the pay per view, if you noticed it, that you can see the blood on the canvas. Yeah. Chris, while I do get why Mark feels that way, I am 1,000% with Martha after seeing this. 13, forget about us fans wanting him in the WWE Hall of Fame. Owen's family, namely his children, do not want him in the WWE Hall of Fame. That's all that matters. Oj said no. Yeah. Yeah, he is like, hell no. It ain't happening. Great old one, hashtag Team Martha. Chris, as a fan of Owen, I am 100% behind his family and their wishes. Fan of Asuka, his daughter hates wrestling. She even said it. Yes, she did. She did. She said she hates it, and I understand that level of hate and where it comes from. I may not be able to sympathize with her from the standpoint of, okay, well, two birds of the same feather. But I get where her mind is at right now. I really, really do get it. And, if I could just touch upon one other takeaway, I think that it's so sad and so tragic that, and something else that I kind of alluded to earlier, but I really didn't go in depth about it. And I'm not being long-winded with this, but hearing Martha say that members of the Hart family were pretty divided with the fact that she was going after Vince McMahon in the WWE. To hear that there were actually members of the Hart family that were, trying to illegally obtain whatever documentation they could get from her and essentially give it to Vince and his team of lawyers. Because their whole thing is, well, the McMahon family, they've been good to us for so many years, blah this, blah that. And other members of the Hart family just remained silent. They didn't want to have anything to do with this whole ordeal. I mean, that just, and I wish the producers, maybe they asked, but we didn't see it. And maybe they can include it on a director's cut, but one of my biggest questions that I had when I was watching that particular scene was there anybody from the Hart family after Owen passed? Was there anybody from the Hart family through thick and thin stayed with you? Was there anybody you could confide in and you were able to bounce ideas off of them? And you're just really kind of left to the impression that it was just her against all of them, and her only request to them, she said, you don't have to like what I'm doing, but please don't get in my way. Please don't interfere in this. Just step to the side and just let me. So damn sad that, and I always tell you guys on the show that there's two sides to a story. I always tell you there's one side, there's the other side, and in the middle, there's that silver lining known as the truth. And sadly, we'll never really know the definitive truth and everything. But I tell you what, another question that I have, did any of the Hart family members want to be interviewed for this episode? Did they all decline? Yeah, that's another question that I have. And I don't know. We've had Evan Houston on the show, one of the producers for Dark Side of the Ring. We've had him on the show a couple of times. I don't know how his schedule is looking these days with the pandemic and all, but maybe that's a question, we can ask him. Maybe we can see if we could get him on the show, or who knows, maybe Cornette, because I know Corny has had him on the show a couple of times. Maybe those are questions that Corny, will be able to, because usually whatever questions I have for the Dark Side of the Ring crew, usually me and Corny, for two guys that don't interact, we usually have the same brainwave. He usually asks the questions that I'm thinking. So, but I'm definitely going to try to see if I can reach out and see if we can get Evan Houston back on the show and follow up with him on some of these questions that I have. But, you would have thought that the Hart family would have, okay, you know what? Nothing else matters right now. We lost somebody, we lost a family member. Not only did she lose a family member, but she lost her husband, those kids, they lost a father. We need to do everything right, and we need to make sure that, and it just sucks that at a time when it was really needed, it just sucks that there was not unity. It really, really sucks. And, you know, I could tell that there was just a little bit of friction that was kind of, you know, going on over the years, but I never knew until this episode tonight the magnitude of it, on just how everybody is on their respective side of the fence with regards to this. And it's just fucking sad. It's fucking sad on so many levels. And oh my God, fan of Oscar, you took the words right out of my mouth. I can't wait to hear what Vince Russo has to say. Notice he was one that was absent from this episode. And the reason why I was mentioning fan of Oscar just said Vince McMahon was an idiot for giving Vince Russo full creative control over the shows and the wrestlers, since it was Vince Russo's idea. So is it official? Because the last thing I want to do is put the wrong information out there. Was this Vince Russo's booking? Was he in the WWE at that point in time when Owen was doing the whole blue gimmick again? Because if so, and he was in charge of the whole harness and, you know, all of that other shit, off and on over the years, I have heard Vince Russo, you know, comment about what went down with Owen. And one of the last times, I want to say maybe it was on an episode of Truth with Consequences, maybe when he still had Matt Coon as one of his as his co-hosts. I want to say that, you know, Russo, I mean, he was pretty emotional when he was talking about it. Was talking about how very close him and Owen were and everything. But it's been so long. It's been so fucking long. You know, I think the real question, you know, I know we want to be so quick to go Russo, but here's the thing that we all need to ultimately remember right here. No matter how stupid of a gimmick and all that other shit it was for Owen to go back into that costume again and all of that shit, this is where we kind of need to separate. Vince Russo was not in charge, at least to my knowledge. Vince Russo was not in charge of, okay, well, we're going to get a production company and, you know, we're going to fucking, you know, get this harness. We're going to do, you know, all of this other, you know, cool fucking shit, you know, blah this, blah that. You know, I think that that's a slippery slope, because ultimately, you know, who's the guy that's signing the checks for that company that was handling the harness for Owen and everything? Ultimately, they got to go collect their money from somebody, and that somebody is Vince McMahon. It would be no different than if I came up with a stupid ass idea for, first name that comes into mind is Seth Rollins. I could have the most stupidest idea creatively for Seth Rollins, and you all are ripping me a new asshole on social media for that creative idea. But if I've gone to the old man and I've said, bro, this shit's gonna go over like a motherfucker, we're gonna make some mad money, the finish line to this, oh, it's gonna be so sweet. And the old man goes, well, if you think it's good shit, let's do it. And the old man is on board. All right, well, you tell me what all you need. And if I'm telling the old man I need blah, 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 and he's just filling out the checks, and, you know, yeah, you can bash me. You can get on me from a creative standpoint, but I'm not the one that's handling the shit with the supplies and all that other shit. So that's where things kind of get a little bit, you know, I know usually the running gag is problem in blah, blah, blah promotion. Well, who was around at that time? Russo? Blame it on Russo. You know, it's got to be definitive for me before. But then even at that, it's kind of like, okay, at least for me, am I really going to go in that direction? What evidence do I have? What circumstantial evidence do I have that can, you know, back up what I'm saying and everything? But I think the question we all need to be asking ourselves is, was Vince Russo in charge of booking things around that time period. And I kind of want to say yes, because I'm pretty sure it was an episode of Truth or Consequences that Russo did with Matt Coon, and they were talking about Owen Hart. It was like a couple of years ago. It kind of felt like maybe it was 2-3 years ago or something like that. But I'm not going to speculate any further. What I'll actually do for you guys, because I have the audio still, I can easily go back and listen to it. And as long as you're following me on social media, I'll give you guys a link to that episode, and you guys can go and listen to it in its entirety for yourselves. And then not to mention, I'm sure just because usually Vince Russo, these past 2 seasons, he's followed up on some key episodes that went down from Dark Side of the Ring. I know he definitely followed up on what went down this season with the Brawl for All. I know he followed up with his thoughts about that. So, I'm pretty sure before the week is out, you guys will definitely know a little something. I'm sure he'll probably use that season finale episode of Dark Side as an opportunity to bring up Owen once again and definitively try to clear the air on whatever role he might have had, if he had any role and all, leading up to Owen's unfortunate passing and everything. But let's pause on that note. Hey, do me a huge favor. If you had enjoyed this review and, just overall takeaway and bullet points and all that, do me a favor, smash the like button. I see we got a decent amount of likes so far, but it should be even higher given the amount of people that's checking it out right now. So give it a thumbs up. It's free. Giving that thumbs up, and then most importantly, you're letting YouTube know, hey, I actually had enjoyed this review. That way other people that are, oh yeah, I want to see what some people had to say about that Dark Side episode on Owen Hart, YouTube can say, okay, well, since you are interested in this, well, we recommend you check this guy out. He's actually pretty good. Check out his shit. And if you really appreciated this, do subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And check out more content. I'm usually live a couple of times a week. I'm live after Raw goes off the air. I'm live after NXT, AEW goes off the air. Live after WWE pay-per-views. Matter of fact, our next show is Wednesday night. As soon as NXT and AEW goes off the air. We don't just talk WWE. We go a little bit all over the place. Talk a little non-wrestling related topics, all that good shit. So you guys are in for some good shit. You can also check out episodes on demand and on the downloads. Just use the keywords, the RCWR show. You could definitely get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Love to interact with you guys. And before I leave, I see we not only had picked up a couple of subscribers, followers. I want to say there was maybe a super chat. If there was a super chat, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate that. I'm still getting new to some of these notifications, y'all, so y'all gotta work with me. But that is gonna do it. Once again, though, in a nutshell, this episode of Dark Side of the Ring, the season finale, fucking great. Gives a thumbs up from me. They opened it up very strong. They went out very strong. That is how you do it. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you got a little bit of money to spare, take care of yourself. Take care of your family first. But if you got a little bit of extra money that you're looking to spend and you felt kind of inspired a little bit, you want to try to represent Owen Hart in your own little way possible, check out ProWrestlingTees.com. Pick up one of 2 Owen Hart shirts that's on there. It's for a limited time. It is the first officially released Owen Hart t-shirt in 20 years. It is a joint effort by Vice, the Dark Side of the Ring crew, and the Owen Hart Foundation, set up by Martha Hart. 100% of all profits from those shirts, it goes straight to the Owen Hart Foundation. And so, as you guys were able to learn about the foundation, your money is definitely going towards a very worthy cause, helping out kids, helping out single parents, and, the whole 9 yards. And as I always like to say on this show, pay it forward, always forward. That's what it needs to be about. We all can achieve what we need to achieve when we're lifting each other up, That's how you got to do it. So until next go round, I'm wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Y'all do take care. Keep hitting that thumbs up, guys. Much love.